they all crewed wherries. They're all on the wherries when they were young men. And my dad, he started when he was 14. When he left school when he was 14, he started working with his grandfather. More. Now that's my dad's last wherry, that was. Yeah. He was his last wherry before he went to Colbert. Because, you know, the moors used to belong to Bond. My dad worked for Bond. And in the summertime, he used to crew their pleasure wherry. Because they had a pleasure wherry, you know, where, you know, instead of holds, there was all cabins and one thing, you know, dining room and everything. And start of summer, old Bond used to get that out from dark, and he used to crew that. My dad used to crew that. And my grandfather, he had two wherries, and he and one of the boys, my Uncle Albert, he crewed that one, and my brother, my father, and his brother crewed the other one. You know, but they lived at Reedham. They carried practically everything. I mean, I've done that. Carried coal and timber and one thing another. They didn't like loading timber. They'd rather have anything else than know where they fill the hole up and away. They had to be very careful of the width of it, because they used to be held well over the side, feet over the side of the wherry itself, and they had to be very careful. Coal was the worst thing they ever done. My old father, he didn't mind carrying coal. He didn't mind carrying coal at all. He was a funny old boy.
His uncles on both sides of the family were marshmen, lightermen and reed cutters. That is how he got first introduced to the water. Yeah. And then he went as a mate or a young lad on the wherry, 14 to 15 years old. He would be carrying, first of all, it would be sugar beet. And that would be a winter job. And he would cart reed as well, from Staithes to wherever. Timber, stone. He would cart many different materials for building projects. He used to carry soil up and down Potterham riverbank and the Rep side and the Martham side, and when someone wanted some soil, he would then handball it in by shovel and by barrow, and he would then, as he was going up the riverbank, he would drop so many barrows of soil on one plot, then he could drop some on another plot. Then all of a sudden the following day might not even be anywhere near Potterham Stay. It could be somewhere else like Hornan or Catfield or Wroxham. So he was always constantly on the move.
My father used to take me on the wherries when they were dredging. I fell in, I was nearly drowned. But I never went on the wherries when they were carrying timber or anything like that. I only remember the dredging. And the banks now at Watlingham picnic area was the mud that was actually thrown from the wherries onto the bank. That's why you get all the little hills. And I used to dig in that. I used to love the smell, believe it or not. And what I can never understand, I should imagine the jib on these dredges weren't big enough to take the mud straight onto the bank, because they used to load it into these wherries and then the graft, shovel and barrow it out onto the bank. And they done it in stages, you know, sort of planks built up, and it was graft. I used to take my father's sandwiches, not every day but occasionally, from where we lived up in Plumstead on the old Plumstead estate, and then across the railway. And I used to go across the railway and take his bottle, because tea was in bottles in them days. Never knew what a flask was. And his sandwiches about 2 inches thick with English beef. And then of course the rest of my day was by that fire there brewing tea, because they were drinking tea all day. Oh yes, I mean there's the bike to work, and the bike would be on top of the cabin all day. Of course they had the rowing boat to get from one side of the water to the other, and his bike would be in there, plus me, plus him, plus his mate, because there's always a mate, and then through the orchards on his crossbar on the bike home.